Former Oregon State head coach Jonathan Smith is now the head coach of Michigan State. Was actually, Joe, if I'm not mistaken here, he was the first move in all of this. I mean, Michigan State had their guy locked in from the beginning. They hired Jonathan Smith to be their head coach. What's your first-year expectations for Coach Smith?
As I was saying at the beginning of the show, their schedule is pretty favorable. They have a very favorable situation. Their 4 hardest games that they play is a bloodbath. They play Ohio State, they play Oregon, they play Michigan, and then they play Iowa. But the rest of their stretch, they're non-con. They play FAU, they play Louisiana, they play Boston College, Indiana.
It's ULL, but continue.
Oh, sorry, same difference.
No, they hate being called ULL.
I know. I'm joking. Maryland is not as is a winnable opponent. Purdue, Illinois, and Rutgers are the other teams that they play, which are winnable for them. I think bowl eligibility is an expectation. I think that their first year should be comparable to that of what Hugh Freeze did in his first season at Auburn. A lot of bright spots, a lot of young players shining, a couple not upset victories, but games that you're not expected to win, that you come out and you play your ass off and you win football games. But realistically, 7-5 is probably where you're going to land. I think it's huge that he ended up pulling Aiden Chiles. Aiden Chiles is a phenomenally talented quarterback, and I'm excited to see what he does, likely in his first year as a starter. One name to watch, Jordan Hall, who is a young linebacker who did some pretty brilliant things for them last year. Former IMG kid, was really highly recruited, ended up at Michigan State. That kid is extremely talented. Pay attention to what he does in this new team with like a really good hands-on coaching staff.
Joe, if he goes 7-5 and makes them a bowl eligible team, I think it's a massive win.
I do too.
Okay. I mean, look, I wasn't going to go there. I mean, Michigan State has so many question marks, so many. And I don't think that. So look, for me, when you have a team, Joe, that is coming off a losing season, regardless if they have a new head coach or not, all right, the number one goal for me, and most coaches, Joe, they always do this. I was a part of a new coaching regime. Let's get bowl eligible. That's the only goal. Let's get better every day. Let's try to go win 6 games. Let's be bowl eligible. Okay? That's got to be the only goal here. Like, I don't see any – look, I don't have a lot of expectations for Jonathan Smith. Okay? He's going to be in a conference. It's going to be really tough. I know that you said that – and you mentioned that their schedule's very favorable. Good for them. Not going to stop that they don't have massive deficiencies in some areas. Massive deficiencies. Yeah. Okay? You talk about Childs coming over. Joe – he's got an offensive line that I don't know if they could block the Bad News Bears. It's a joke, but their offensive line is not good. Their defensive line is not good. Okay? Now, do they have some really good pieces at places? Sure. Not arguing with you on that. What are we really supposed to expect, though?
Well, here's my big thing with them, though, and why they went and hired Jonathan Smith. Oregon State was never really a hotbed for talent. DJU is the most talented guy that they had on their roster in terms of just recruiting level. He developed a lot of low-level players, and it's going to take time to like really develop and get their own version of Talise Fuaga, who is going to be a top 10 pick this upcoming year. But I feel like he's that type of coach that's going to get more out of the roster. That's why I compared it to Hugh Freeze, because in the beginning of the year, I think the national landscape assumed that Hugh Freeze in Auburn was going to suck, because we looked at the roster, we looked at the recruiting that was done, and we were like, oh my God, this is a goddamn mess. This roster is terrible. We have to go watch Peyton Thorne, former Michigan State quarterback, play quarterback for them. This is going to be a joke. And they played way better than everyone thought. Everyone thought that they were going to be Vanderbilt and be that bad, or as bad as Mississippi State was this year. And they weren't. They were competitive enough to almost beat Alabama. I think that is in their wheelhouse to be, because he's a good coach that gets more out of their team than many would expect.
Joe, I'm going to push back on something because I'm going to start with the Ohio State game. I think they lose to Ohio State. I think they lose at Oregon. I'm going to be honest with you. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I think it's going to happen. I think they lose to Iowa. I think they lose at Michigan. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe, even though, Joe, I got to be real with you. Indiana, I'm going to save it for when I'm going to save it. Okay. I'm not going to say they'll lose that game. You're 1,000% sure that they go to Champaign and win? Because at that point, they might be on a 4-5 game losing streak. All right.
Nebraska started the season slow and recovered. I mean, like,
okay, Nebraska didn't have to go to Oregon, didn't have Iowa, didn't have to go to Michigan, didn't have Ohio State. Are you 1,000% sure that they beat Purdue?
That one's a toss-up. I think Illinois, Purdue, and Rutgers are toss-ups.
They could legitimately be on a 6-7 game losing streak.
But, okay.
They don't have the talent. Joe, if you look down that schedule, they don't have more talent than any of 95% of the teams that they play.
That's not true. They've got I'm going
to tell you
roster
something.
Is just as good, if not better, than Indiana and Maryland's in conference. They're non-con. They're going to sweep. They're playing nobody.
Okay, well, I was thinking in conference. I'm not talking about Florida Atlantic or Louisiana. Okay, but come on now.
They just need 3 conference wins to go 6-6 and to be bowl eligible.
I just read off the meat of their schedule. They might not get one.
Maryland, Indiana are winnable football games, and they just need to win 1 of 3 between.
Name the one that they'll get.
I think they can beat Illinois. I think Illinois is a beatable team. I don't think Illinois did much. They're losing their 2 best defensive tackles that I dick rode the whole offseason.
How are you going to betray Brett Bielema like that?
Well, he betrayed me when they underperformed and they played like dog shit this year. I look like a moron saying they were a top 25 team.
I'm just one. Yeah, you. Okay.
Yeah.
Who told you they wouldn't be?
But who also said Rutgers was going to be good?
Well, true, but you're just a homer. They play Rutgers too, by the way. Just throwing this out there now. Are you going to betray your new favorite head coach when we talk about them this offseason?
Who? Kurt Cignetti? Is that who you're talking about?
No.
Who are you talking about?
Who's the head coach that retweeted you this week?
Oh, James Franklin. They don't play Penn State.
After all the shit that you talked to, well, you can't tell you something. Hold on. Can I tell you something that's so funny?
Yeah. Yes, I've talked so much shit. I mean, he doesn't know that. I don't think it was him who retweeted me, by the way.
Shit about
it was a social media intern.
Franklin. Okay.
Good. I'd love for him to know that. I would love for him to know that I think that he's incapable of winning big games. I'd love for him to know that. He won't. He never will. I got balls. I don't care.
I'm with you, buddy. I'm with you.
I'm not going to just immediately. I'm not going to just immediately cower if I had to interact with him. I don't operate like that.
Okay. You sure were excited, James Franklin.
Oh, because it was a SEC or not a Big Ten coach quote tweeting me. That doesn't happen every day.
Okay. So I got him going 5-7.
You're a hater. Yeah. Jeff Levy's going to pull off 6 wins.
They have a better roster. Something just happened.
I knocked my mic out. It was
okay. They have a better roster.
No, they don't. They play in the SEC. They play in the SEC. They play in
it doesn't matter. Joe, they got 5 offensive linemen. Let me tell you this right now.
No.
Mississippi State's got 5 offensive linemen that are SEC starting offensive linemen.
There's maybe they're slightly better. I don't think it's like this team, Mississippi State's so much better than Michigan State. I disagree with that.
They would clap the dog cheeks, literally.
It'd be a close game.
No, it wouldn't.
They don't even have a quarterback.
Who?
Mississippi State. Who's their quarterback? BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. Bet online, where the game starts.